Hello, everybody. It is now 1 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, so there may be a few more people trickling in. However, we have a lot to cover, so I'm just going to go over a few housekeeping things, and then by the time I get to the meat and potatoes of the presentation, people will have plenty of time to explain. So first, I just want to say thank you all so much for joining today's webinar. My name is Holly Hufford, and I'll be hosting you today. I'm a search engine marketing specialist here at rezStream. You should all be able to see my screen. You should all be able to hear me. If for whatever reason you're having technical difficulties, please add that to the chat. This webinar is being recorded, so you guys will receive a copy of this recording as well as a copy of my slide deck within business hours. And then also we post this content on the rezStream website under the Education Center. So if you ever want to reference it in the future, you can find it there. If you have any questions that are not technical, feel free to use the Q&A feature in Zoom. I'll try my best to answer as many questions as possible. However, if it's a really unique situation to your property, we will email you directly after the fact. So we do want to answer everyone's questions, but if it's more a general question that can benefit the sake of everyone, I'll stop and answer that. If it's a very unique situation, we can send you an email after the fact. I think that's mainly the housekeeping things. I haven't seen anyone in the chat have any issues seeing my screen or hearing me, so I will just go ahead and get started. So this is the Tripadvisor talk. We're going to talk about trends, tools, and best practices for your independent lodging property. Here's an agenda. I'll share a little bit about me. I'll share a little bit about rezStream, just because I know some people here are rezStream customers and some are not. We'll talk about free Tripadvisor tools, paid Tripadvisor tools, reviews, best practices, 2025 trends, a new feature, one of their newest paid ads, support, and then kind of just like recapping my major takeaways and next steps. Also, there will be a couple of poll questions throughout this webinar. So if you could please interact, that would be great. Just some of it gives me insight, and then some of it's just for fun. So about me, like I said, my name is Holly Hufford, and I'm a search engine marketing specialist here at rezStream. I've been working here over 3 years, almost 3.5. I am a Colorado native. I enjoy watching Denver sports teams, specifically the Avalanche and the Denver Nuggets. You can always find me going on a hike with my dog on the weekends. I have a 5-year-old Bichon, so we love to spend time outside. We like to get away, especially camping, and my favorite cuisine is Mexican food. Now, a little bit about rezStream. Our current team has about 25 caring and passionate individuals, and we consider ourselves an extension of your team. Our goal is to work with you to manage your business and improve your ability to increase reservations while keeping your guest satisfaction top of mind. The rezStream slogan is Better Lodging Simplified. And since 2005, we've partnered with small to medium-sized independent lodging properties all throughout the United States to ensure our solutions can empower you to achieve your goals. We're best known for our cloud-based reservation software and booking engine services. However, as somebody on the digital marketing team, I do have to say we offer digital marketing as well. And we focus on a variety of channels, but one of those is Tripadvisor, which is what we'll be talking about today. Okay. So I have a poll here just so I can get a good idea. Do you have a Tripadvisor listing? So I will launch this here. The options are yes, I use a free listing. Yes, I have a paid listing. Or no, I don't have Tripadvisor, or you're not sure. Maybe you're not sure if it's free, maybe you're not sure if it's paid. I'll let this run maybe for about 20 seconds longer. I don't want it to run too long, just because, like I said, we have a lot of content to get through. Okay, I'll give you about 5 more seconds. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and end that poll, and then I'm gonna share the results. Super interesting. We can see that 37% say, yes, I have a free listing, 32% says, yes, I have a paid listing, and then 32% says, no, or I don't know. So that's a pretty even split between people using the free version, paid version, don't know, which is amazing because I feel like I have information and features for every single one of you. But that's just good information, so I kind of know who I'm talking to. If you all had paid listings, maybe I would spend more time on certain things. Okay. So first, we're going to start with free Tripadvisor listings. However, I want you to keep in mind that if you have a paid listing, please pay attention to all of these recommendations because you can take advantage of this plus additional features. So I don't want to, share the same information twice. So pretty much if you have any listing, this is important for you. If you log into the back end of your Tripadvisor listing, you'll see this menu over on the left-hand side. And so I'm kind of going to be going through majority of these topics for today's webinar. However, I just wanted to point that out that if you log in, if you want to know kind of where I'm talking about how to optimize each section, it's on the left-hand side. So the first thing you're going to want to do is claim your listing and verify your listing. This can be a little tedious, especially if you have to upload a photo and upload, like your photo ID or try to get a text message or a code via phone call. However, once it's claimed and verified, you only have to do that once, and it just keeps your listing safe and secure. Sorry, I just saw an answer in the chat, so I just wanted to address that really quick, but it's all good. So that's the first thing that you're going to want to do to make sure nobody can hack into your account and there's not going to be any duplicate listings of somebody doing some false advertising. So that would be my first recommendation. If you log into your account and you don't see anything about claiming or verifying, it's probably already done. Tripadvisor really pushes this. So if it hasn't been done, it's pretty obvious. Next is filling out your business details. So that includes a variety of things, including your business name, the total number of units that you offer, business description, which we'll talk more about here shortly, what category or type you have. So if you are a bed and breakfast, you'd want to highlight that versus an inn versus a hotel, motel, right? Because each of those are different. And I would say just make sure your category or type is as closely related to your property as possible. Just because if somebody's looking for a bed and breakfast, that's a completely different traveler type than somebody looking for a hotel. And we just want to give you the highest quality visitor and customer as possible. Include property amenities. So this is more unique to the entire property. So here you can see this property offers like grills, Wi-Fi, free parking, etc. And then is your property wheelchair accessible? Does anyone at your property speak any unique languages that we can add to highlight? Then we have room features, which is a little bit different than the property features. It's specific to individual units. So do you have kitchenettes, TVs, air conditioning, baths, showers, coffee? It's pretty robust. It's a checklist, so you don't have to input the information. You just kind of have to select like, yes, my property offers this. And then room types. Do you offer non-smoking rooms, family rooms? Are they small rooms, cabins, that sort of thing? So just make sure you provide as much information to Tripadvisor as possible so you show up in more searches. My tip for the business details is just update on a consistent basis. Tripadvisor is always adding new features to take advantage of. Maybe you want to do this quarterly or biannually. I don't think you need to be going in there monthly for those specific business details, but every so often they are updating that. So just make sure that we're taking advantage of as many features as possible. And then ensure that the content that you're feeding to Tripadvisor aligns with all the content on your website, on your social media platforms, on your Google business listing. Because again, you're going to show up for more searches, the more information you feed it, but also we're seeing a lot more people utilizing AI, the AI overviews in Google and Microsoft, but as well as ChatGPT. And if you can provide consistent information across multiple platforms, the AI bots understand this as the truth. Whereas if one place is pet friendly and nowhere else, they're like, is that true? And they don't want to promote that. But if you're pet friendly and it says that on Facebook, Instagram, your website, your Google business listing, your Tripadvisor listing. They're like, okay, that's the truth, and they'll show it to people. So just make sure that all your information is consistent. Now, moving on to your business description, you have free reign over this. It is an empty chat or like text box. You can add as much or as little information as you would like. I would suggest it be clear and engaging because if it's too long or too wordy, people are going to zone out. 2 to 3 paragraphs chunked out is really great. Maybe one about the property in general, maybe one about the specific units, and then maybe some specific amenities that are really calling people that, just set your property apart, especially from your competitors in the area. So, like I said, amenities, unit types, nearby attractions, those are all super great things to highlight, especially, I would say, because the hotel details or the property details are like a, a bot, like a multiple choice kind of option. Let's say you offer a pickleball court and pickleball courts is not an option. I'm going to highlight in your business description just because there's no other way to promote that information unless you type it out. You, of course, can repeat the information, but we just don't want to leave anything, especially those great amenities, out. I will say for that business description, avoid keyword stuffing, just because you can be penalized if it's content that just looks too wordy, like you're trying to trick the system. However, naturally all of the best features without keyword stuffing. So just keep that in mind. Time and time again, we've seen if content is created by humans for humans, that outdoes content created for AI bots where you're trying to cheat the system or by AI bots. So just please write it without ChatGPT and please write it for human beings rather than to cheat the system. Okay, so now that we've gone through the details and the description, we want to make sure that your primary image is high quality because this is going to be the main image that travelers see. So if you guys have spent any time on Tripadvisor and you click on your listing or anyone else's listing, there's one main image that appears under the property name. That's your primary image. Tip number 1 for this is I suggest it be an exterior photo of the property or an amenity that's really enticing, such as the swimming pool. I'd really suggest not using a logo because a logo doesn't really tell me anything about your property. And also avoid using a unit photo, especially if you have a variety of units. If some of your units have 2 queen beds and some have 1 king bed, it can just get really confusing if you're highlighting one specific unit type. So an exterior photo, great amenity photo, or maybe some combo of both is my suggestion. Additionally, because it's usually a property photo, updating that primary photo every quarter to match the season, if your area truly does have seasons, is great just because potential guests can imagine themselves there. So right now we're about to come into the fall foliage season here in Colorado. And so a lot of our clients may be in Estes Park. We are adding pictures of fall foliage. It's also been elk season in Estes Park. So some of our properties have pictures of elk near their, near their office or something. And guests just get super excited. And then in the fall, we want to add snow pictures. However, this might not be applicable to you if you live in Florida and it's always sunny. Well, then you can disregard this. But definitely if you have seasons, promote that photo based on seasons. Now, in addition to that primary photo, we have additional listing images as well. Please ensure those are high quality and include as many photos in a variety of categories as possible. So categories can include like specific units, include bathroom pictures, living area pictures like kitchens, kitchenettes, dining areas, any of those amenities, exterior photos, check-in photos, lobby photos, anything like that that can just give guests a really good idea of what your property offers is great. Now, a tip I have for this is it's better to have photos than not to have photos. I totally understand that high quality photos from a professional is quite an investment. It does cost quite a bit of money to pay a professional, but thankfully smartphones are pretty advanced now that you can get some pretty good photos. So I'd recommend some photos rather than no photos. And then kind of just an additional tip is keep an eye maybe on the photos that your guests are uploading with their reviews, because that's also what future guests are going to see. So if maybe people keep complaining about a bathroom leaking and there's a ton of photos of the bathroom leaking, that's something that you'd want to address to kind of avoid those negative photos coming in. So sometimes it's great to rely on guest photos, but plugging in a ton of your own photos also really helps. Okay, so those are the main things that I would take advantage of if you have a free listing. Now, if you have a paid listing with Business Advantage, you can take advantage of all that plus all features I'm about. So one is the biggest feature I personally think out of all these is contact information. You can include a link to your website, a link to your booking engine, a phone number, and an email address. You can have up to 4 contact links when you take advantage of Business Advantage listings. So you could do kind of the 4 that I just mentioned, or if you want to do like your local email and your website or something, it doesn't really matter, but you could have a max of 4. This is super great just because it gives people direct access to your website, especially if you're looking at the website with booking engine. Whereas before, if you don't take advantage of Business Advantage, they're going to learn about your property on Tripadvisor, but then they have to Google you after the fact and try to find your website because there's not that direct link. So I would highly recommend taking advantage of this. A bonus of this is when there are links directly to your website and your booking engine, you can track those direct bookings from Tripadvisor to your Google Analytics. This is super great because Business Advantage does cost money. And because it costs money, we can track your ROI in Google Analytics to make sure it's a positive ROI, right? If you're paying, I don't know, like $1,000 a year and you're only getting $300 in bookings as a really extreme scenario, maybe it's not worth paying for. However, pretty much every single property that I've seen that pays for Business Advantage does see positive return on investment, but that's just an added bonus. Whereas if you don't take advantage of Business Advantage, geez, I keep getting stumbled on that. People are going to end up Googling you. It's going to look like an organic or a direct search. And so it's just hard to know as much value that you get from that. Speaking of analytics, there are additional analytics on the back end that are separate from Google Analytics. However, I highly recommend setting up Google Analytics as a separate thing. When you have the free listing, you can see things such as page traffic. So, for example, this property saw a little over 81,000 people view their listing, which I think I had this set up like the last year compared to the previous year or something like that, which was a 57% increase the last 12 months compared to the previous. So that is something you can see with the free listing. However, what I really like with the paid listing are screenshots that I have here. So here we have referrals. These are people that are clicking on their website URL. So 1,500 people went to the website over the last 12 months, which is super cool because without the listing, that's not even an option. This might be my favorite is Traveler Insights. On average, people are booking 3 nights with your property, and the booking lead time is about 64 days. Now, again, I set this criteria to the last 12 months compared to the previous 12 months. However, I also looked at it for the last 30 days, and the last 30 days average booking lead time was 32 days. So that's super great information to know of like, if I'm really worried about what my occupancy map looks like, I need to focus on that maybe 32-day mark or that 64-day mark to make sure that we're catering to those kinds of guests because that's the average time frame. You also have the contact link contacts. So like that's when people email you or call you. So that's a little bit different from the website. And then special offer links, which I'll talk more about special offers. So this just is great insight in addition to Google Analytics. But overall, I just love these Traveler Insights of what special offers do we need to be offering to kind of capture these kinds of guests and how far out in advance do we need to be promoting those. So we were talking about high quality images previously. However, with the Business Advantage listing, you have more customization, I would say is the best way to put it. So you can curate the first image that people see on the photo albums. So if you have a bathroom photo album, you can choose what the cover photo is for that. or the amenities or lobby or whatever it is. Whereas if you don't pay, that's default. You can create a photo carousel of your best photos. I would say this is kind of like a highlight reel. Let's say you like choose your 10 best photos across the entire property and they're up front and center. So that way people don't have to scroll through every photo album if they don't want to. So that's super great. And then you can also create slideshows of the photos that also have the best property images. It could be a highlight reel, or you could make like a photo album of like all the bathroom images or all the amenity images or whatever. So overall, it just gives more visibility to those pictures. I think sometimes when we invest in photography, it feels like a lot, but it just makes me feel a little bit better if we know that we can utilize these photos for good and more than just putting them on the website and more than just adding them to the booking engine. We can actually utilize those images for 3 additional features here on Tripadvisor to kind of get more of your money's worth. Okay, so like I mentioned, I was going to have a few poll questions. So a lot of these are just for fun to make sure you're paying attention. So if you answer the poll question throughout the webinar, you have a chance to win a $25 gift card. We will kind of just pull somebody's name random out of those who participated. So just a incentive to stay engaged. So the first question, so kind of what I'm doing is asking what we already know, and then I'll go through and have the answer. You don't need to know the answer because we haven't gone through it yet. So you can still win, even if you get a question wrong. But this question is, should you run special offers through your business advantage listing for greater visibility? So let me launch that. So this is yes or no. Should you run special offers through Business Advantage for greater visibility? And I'll let this run maybe for 15 more seconds. Okay. I can see in the chat, Roger said that he just checked and his special offers have expired. So Roger, I'll have Zoe reach out to you on our digital marketing team to work with you on running those special offers again in TripAdvisor. Okay, so if we take a look at the results here, we can see that 91% of people said yes and 9% of people said no. The correct answer is, whoops, yes. You will have greater visibility to your property listing if you run special offers. Okay, so here are some examples of what a special offer could look like. You can run up to 3 special offers at any given time if you're trying to cater to a different audience type or different dates. So some people might want to run a short-term special for the next 30 days, a midterm special for the next 60 to 90 days, and then maybe like a long-term special or a military special or something like that. Truly, if you're taking advantage of your business advantage listing, my recommendation is to run at least one special at all times. Even if it's something as simple as 5% off military discount or 5% AAA, even if that's not going to be for everybody, I would totally recommend doing that because you'll show up higher on the rankings. So this bottom one, stay 4 nights and pay for only 3. So that's highlighted in red. And then we also have this pop-up, you know, it has greater details. If you click on this bottom banner, this is what shows up. I can see in the chat, Mike said, does special offers impact OTAs in regard to parity issues? So just to clarify, when you're running these special offers, these would be direct booking offers only. So if you're running these, they're only going to be for people booking direct on your booking engine. These special offers are not going to be highlighting anything on your OTAs unless we specify that. So for example, Redeem on the hotel website is linking to their booking engine. It's not linking to any of their OTAs. In regards to parity issues, Mike, hopefully this answers your question. For this, you have to use the promo code 443 to take advantage of this. So if people don't have that promo code, they're only going to see your general rates on the OTAs, and they're only going to see your general rates in the booking engine. And so that shouldn't affect rate parity at all. Let me know in the chat if that didn't answer your question. And if not, I might just email you after the fact if it's more specific to you, but hopefully that kind of answers for everybody how this shouldn't affect your OTA rate. Okay, now another poll question. Can you ping your favorite review on Tripadvisor with a free listing? So let me launch this. Again, this is just yes or no. Can you pin your favorite review on Tripadvisor with a free listing? I'll let this run for about 15 more seconds. Okay, we'll go ahead and end this poll. And then I'll share the results. So we can see 85% of people said yes, 15% of people said no. The answer is no. You cannot pin your favorite review on a Tripadvisor listing. That's free. That is an additional benefit to your business advantage listing. And then we have another poll here. I know this is back to back. How quickly should you respond to negative reviews? So I'll let this run for a little bit longer just because it's not yes or no. How quickly should you respond to a negative review? 8 hours, 24 hours, within 1 week, within 21 days. While everybody's answering that, Mason in the chat said, what are the top 3 things an independent property can do today to improve visibility on Tripadvisor without increasing ad spend? I would say, Mason, the top things that I would do if I were you is update your imagery, update your business description, ensure all the business details are taken advantage of, respond to every review. I know that's 4. Those are like the 4 main things. Just make sure all the content is pushed out as much as possible. Okay, I'll let this run for like 3 more seconds. We're getting a lot of responses on this one, which is exciting. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and end this poll, even though I still keep seeing responses coming through. So it's pretty split. 40% of people said within 8 hours, 45% of people said within 24 hours, 11% of people said within 1 week, and 4% of people said within 21 days. The answer is within 24 hours. However, the 40% of you that said within 8 hours, good for you, you're overachievers, the sooner the better. I'm glad to see that majority of you at least know within the first 24 hours is best for negative reviews. So let's talk about review best practices. So overall, you should be responding to every review. And Mason, that's kind of one of those things that I just suggested. That's something free you can do. You should respond to negative reviews within 24 hours and respond to all reviews within 1 week. You can pin your favorite review with your Tripadvisor Business Advantage listing. So your most recent review will be on the top, then your favorite review will be second, and then all the other in sequential order below that. So the favorite reviews that we like to highlight are usually ones that are pretty in length, but not super unique. So if they're talking about how great the property was, those amenities, those unit feature, maybe the front desk staff, anything like that we in. If for whatever reason you get reviews often in different languages, you can pin your favorite review in each language. So we have some properties that are pretty close to Canada, so they get English reviews and then a lot of French reviews. And so you can pin an English review and a French review to kind of cater to both of those, traveler guest types, which I think is pretty cool. Tripadvisor does kind of control that though. So if they don't see a lot of another language coming through, you won't have the option. I will say for this is pinned reviews do expire, I think about after like 1 month-ish, just because they want you to have a really up-to-date review. So I would recommend going in every month and updating a new review just because a lot of seasonality goes in. Mason, your question about AI, I definitely want to address, but I feel like that'll be better addressed later, so I won't forget that, but I'll answer it here in a little bit. Tips, maybe going back to Mason's original question about things that we can do for free, is respond to reviews with personalized information and then tastefully add keywords, but don't keyword stuff because you can be penalized, kind of like we were previously talking about. So here's an example of somebody that responded to a review. So it was like, thank you for choosing us for your anniversary getaway, for special occasion, relaxation, fun. We love welcoming families of all generations. Those kinds of things are very, like, not keyword stuff, but just natural way of promoting relaxation and family getaways. Lucy, your question about how can you access this? Within 24 business hours, a recording will be sent to you. And you can watch the video or you can just click through your slide deck yourself. So be on the lookout an email for that. And then Jeffrey, I think that's a pretty unique question. So if people want to answer in the chat, I will let them go ahead and answer. But I'm just going to keep plugging along here and then we can always send you an email in regard to your question. Okay, here is a bit of a bonus tip that we didn't include in the agenda, but I do feel like is pretty important, is highlight your awards. We want to create trust with potential guests by adding Tripadvisor awards to your property website. The way that you can earn these awards is by having high quality reviews. So my recommendation is sending post-stay letters. So if you take advantage of the rezStream booking engine, you can have emails set on auto after maybe 24 hours after somebody checks out. If you utilize Akia, which is something we have a connection with, you can send text messages to people to encourage people to leave a review. I will say Tripadvisor is very strict about incentivizing people to leave a review in return for something. So I wouldn't say that they'll get a discount if they leave a review or anything of that nature. You know, you can just encourage them to leave a review. So if you have a lot of reviews within a 12-month period, you'll get the Tripadvisor Traveler's Choice Award. That doesn't run January through December. I think it runs like March to March or something like that. So it's always important to encourage that. And then best of the best is a new reward that they launched this year, which is like even higher quality reviews than all your other competitors within your category type within your area. So you definitely want to have those. You can have old ones on your website. We just want to create trust that people are leaving reviews. I'd also recommend leaking out to Tripadvisor so people can see reviews. So that's what this icon is here. And then pulling reviews onto your website. So if you are a rezStream website user and rezStream marketing user, most likely we've added a reviews plugin to your website, and this pulls in the Tripadvisor reviews as well as Google reviews and some other reviews. If you're like on the OTAs or get Facebook reviews, we can pull those in. But this is super great, so people don't have to leave your website and they can see the positive reviews. Obviously, I know that this is not a webinar about websites and reviews, but I do always get questions like, how do we not pull in negative reviews? We can set up this section to only show 4-star or 5-star or just 5-star reviews. So there's that. Okay, I see there's a lot of questions coming in still. I'm going to keep plugging along, and then I think I'll address kind of at the end anything that comes through at this point so we don't get too distracted, if that's okay. So we have a new poll here. Can you utilize Tripadvisor to cater to potential guests' wants and needs in 2025? So I'll go ahead and this is yes or no. So can you utilize Tripadvisor to cater to potential guests' wants and needs? I'll let this run for about 10 more seconds just because it's yes or no. Mason, your most recent, that's okay, Roger, if you don't know, that's totally fine. Mason, to answer your question, how does Tripadvisor balance getting fair visibility to small independent properties while also prioritizing paid placements from larger brands? Unfortunately, Tripadvisor has become more pay to play over the last couple of years than before. So I would say when somebody pays for a sponsored placement or any kind of ad type, they're going to show up before the organic searches just because they're paying to be there. However, to ensure that you have great visibility organically, I would say I don't want to sound like a broken record, respond to reviews, have high quality images, plug as much information as possible. Just because all those will increase your ranking, like you might be ranked like number 2 out of 30 hotels in Estes Park or something like that. The higher percentage you are or your ranking, the higher you're going to show up organically. But I would say I don't know if there's a true fair balance because if people are paying, they're going to show up. Okay, I'm going to end this poll and share the results. 81% of people said yes, and 19% of people said no. The answer is yes. You can utilize Tripadvisor to cater to potential guests' wants and needs in 2025. So first, I'm going to talk about some trends that we're seeing. And then also within that same slide, kind of talk about what we can do with that information to cater to these kinds of individuals. So we're seeing more last minute bookings. We're seeing more last minute bookings more this year than we saw maybe last year. Of course, COVID was really unique. People were waiting last minute after that because they were concerned about cancellation policies. Then last year, we saw kind of a longer booking period because people were feeling more comfortable. Well, now the economy is super weird. People are feeling nervous about money. So we're back to last minute bookings. So how can we cater to these guests? Utilize those business advantage special offers. So if you're having a really hard time filling a certain time period, like the example I gave earlier is stay 4 nights, pay for 3 from September 14th through October 9th. That's only a 3-week period. However, that's when that property needed additional assistance. So, that's a great option. Review your business advantage analytics. So what's that booking pace period? What are those average nights? I do know both of those suggestions are paid. So as a free option, you can highlight your last minute availability in your business description, just kind of tastefully mentioning that you're a perfect place for a last minute getaway when that information is relevant. Jeffrey, the question of what percentage of B&Bs are free versus paid listings, maybe you can clarify more in the chat. Are you asking what percentage of people on Tripadvisor utilize something paid versus free? Is that what you're asking? Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I would say that taking a look at just our marketing clients, which is a super small drop, but just the ones that I work with, I would say it's about 50-50. About 50% of people are utilizing something paid and about 50% of people are using something free. Lucy, you said, how does rezStream handle commissions? Are you asking about how our booking engine works? Or are you asking in relation to Tripadvisor? If you're asking about Tripadvisor, rezStream doesn't take any commissions per se. That you would just have to pay to utilize our booking engine if that's the connection you want to use, or like OTAs or something, but we don't work on a commission base, we work on a subscription base. Next trend that we're seeing more of is closer travel. We've been seeing more people traveling by car within 50 miles of their house rather than flying. So again, utilize business advantage special offers, kind of just utilizing the verbiage of like drive to us. And then you can also highlight that in your business description. And all these trends you can take with you and utilize in your email campaigns, utilize them on social media, utilize them on your website. This is not unique to Tripadvisor at all, but I'm just telling you how you can also utilize those on Tripadvisor. So please keep that in mind. This is great for your email campaigns, social media, and other marketing as well. We're seeing more people interested in water activities. So either man-made swimming pools and hot tubs, highlight those with pictures, highlight that in the amenities and the business descriptions. Again, also on your website. And then also in your business description, highlight the nearby attractions for maybe natural water. If you're really close to a lake and people come to your property for the kayaking or the fishing, you really just want to highlight that this is a great place to stay. Next is adult play and sports. Adults are wanting to play more and take advantage of sports more. So highlight any fun activities you have on the property, such as basketball courts, tennis courts, pickleball courts, also a swimming pool, is because that's play and activities. Anything else that you can think of, whether that be like puzzles, right? Because that's kind of like play. Include pictures, include that in your description. People want this. Tours and tasting is another trend that we're seeing more of. So if your property has an on-site restaurant, maybe you want to promote some curated dinner menus or curated events for those types of travelers. And then also, if your restaurant is open beyond your property guests, like your hotel guests, you can create its own Tripadvisor listing as well. If it's only available to guests, I might not suggest creating its own Tripadvisor listing just because people might get confused if they stumble across your restaurant listing and then they're not able to eat there unless they're a hotel guest. However, I would say majority of the rezStream clients that I work with, the restaurant is open to outdoor guests. If it's like something that offers lunch and dinner, of course, breakfast, like bed and breakfast, is a bit of a different approach for sure. This might seem a little contradictory, but we're seeing more group travel and solo travel, so maybe a little bit less of couple travel. So what I'd recommend for this is promoting any family style suites or any smaller units. We don't want to cater to just one unique traveler type. We want to promote to everybody. So if you have a property that has large units and medium units and small units, highlight all of that and use kind of verbiage. So when people are looking for something family, you will show up. When people are looking for couple, you will show up. And when solo travel, you'll show up. If we're only focusing maybe on couple travel, you're kind of losing out on the market for that family travel and those solo travelers. So that's interesting that we're kind of seeing either smaller or larger, not so much, like those couples or super small families. It's more large family, multi-generational almost, I would say. Okay, so there are a couple places you can pay to utilize like on Tripadvisor. We already talked about Business Advantage. They have sponsored placement. They have Trip Connect. However, I do want to talk about their newest feature. It's called Ad Express, just because sometimes people are interested in what the newest features are. So the next poll that we have is, what type of ad campaigns are Ad Express? Are they pay-per-click or are they pay-per-impression? Mason, to answer your question, so just so everybody knows, the question is, TripAdvisor increasingly emphasizes traveler reviews, which is true, and I've mentioned, but fake or biased reviews are still a major issue. What are specific steps that TripAdvisor is taking in 2025 to protect independent properties from unfair reviews that hurt their reputation? I would say that TripAdvisor does take false reviews or bad motive reviews very seriously. Same with Google. However, my best recommendation is you need to have as much information to prove your stance as possible. So unfortunately, if somebody just leaves a 1-star review with no feedback, it is really hard to remove those reviews because Google or TripAdvisor don't know if that person's telling the truth. However, if it's somebody who left a review, like for example, we had somebody go on the news recently. They got a lot of negative reviews by sharing their political feedback. We were able to dispute all of those reviews because that feedback was kind of related to something political and had nothing to do actually with the stay. And so you can kind of provide back-end information, maybe screenshots of you searching their name in the back end of your PMS to say, see, we have no evidence of a person with this name booking. But I don't know, Mason, unfortunately, regarding TripAdvisor, what else they'd be doing to crack down on that. I would say when our rezStream clients have an issue, we just go ahead and report those and escalate those and keep an eye on those. But it is unfortunate that sometimes fake or biased reviews do come through, and we address those as best as we can. Okay, I'm going to end this poll and share the results. So 74% of people said pay-per-click and 26% of people said pay-per-impression. I kind of figured that this is how this was going to go because if you've ever attended at least any of my past webinars, I talk a lot about pay-per-click campaigns through Google Ads. If you want to watch some of those, all my old webinars are on the rezStream website under the Education Center. However, interestingly enough, AdExpress is pay per impression. So that's a little bit interesting, just because a lot of ad types are not pay per impression, they're pay per click. So these ads are set up very similar to ones that are pay per click. You can link out to your general website or you can promote a special offer. It utilizes data intelligence to target your ideal consumer. So that's kind of similar to like the Performance Max of Google or Bing ads, if you know what those are. But you can target device, location, customer type, and kind of feed it some of that information, but it does use that data intelligence too. Overall, this is going to increase visibility by appearing more often. Kind of like I mentioned, you have to pay to play. This will show up higher than those organic listings. I would say personally for our clients at rezStream, which will maybe resonate with a lot of you, is the minimum credit to take advantage of AdExpress ad campaigns at this time is $500. And for a small independent property, that is a lot of money when we don't have as much evidence to prove the value in comparison to maybe Google Ads or something like that. And so we haven't seen too many people take advantage of this, at least for our kind of property type, just that are small. So my recommendation would be like to take advantage of sponsored placements or Trip Connect because those are a lot cheaper ad types. However, this is new, so I do want to share this with everybody. I would say when I first learned about this, my concern was how do we know that my competitor 2 minutes down the road isn't going to go and just look at my ad every day and run out of my ad spend? They're keeping a really close eye on IP addresses just to make sure that when you're looking at your own ad, or maybe somebody really close by to you is looking at your ad, such as your competitor, that's not going to go toward your like your impression. So that way your competitor's not sabotaging you, right? You can also like block certain areas. So if you're like, I don't want anybody in Estes Park to see this because a lot of them are my competitors, you can block that and cater to other areas. It seemed like it was as customizable of catering to people that live in certain areas and looking to travel anywhere, or people that live anywhere that are looking to travel to your place, and kind of doing like a 2-for situation that way. Mason's question, as traveler behavior shifts toward mobile first and social media platforms like TikTok or Instagram, how's Tripadvisor ensuring it stays relevant as a discovery tool for independent lodging? I would say, yes, we are seeing a lot of younger travelers lean toward TikTok or Instagram to continue booking. However, Tripadvisor has been around for so long that it has given credibility, and a lot of people are continuing to do their searches on Tripadvisor as a form of a discovery tool. So I would say, adding those images, adding any videos, those are really great ways to keep up with things like Instagram and TikTok, because those are photo and video forward first platforms. People just want information as quick as possible, and a photo's worth 1,000 words. So let's add those pictures and capture those people. Okay, for your final poll, what is the best way to get customized Tripadvisor feedback through rezStream? The options are become a rezStream marketing client or utilize any of the rezStream services. And I'll let this run maybe for about 15 more seconds. Okay, I still see a couple answers coming through, but I am just going to end this poll for the sake of time and share the results. So we have 61% of people saying become a rezStream marketing client and 39% of people saying utilize any rezStream services. The keyword is best. The best way to get customized Tripadvisor feedback is becoming a rezStream marketing client. However, if you use any of our services, we can also help out. We do have a connection with Tripadvisor. We have a partnership where we have access to a support team at Tripadvisor that takes a look at all of the rezStream accounts, which is super amazing. Just because if we're maybe having an issue with our booking engine connection or something, our main point of contact has that reference point for all the rezStream customers. However, if you are a marketing client, you have our entire team of marketing professionals that can review and optimize your listing. So that's super great. There's a team of 4 or 5 of us that can take a look at your Tripadvisor listing, update it, optimize it. And then because we offer marketing, we just have an overall general idea that can better help you. So that's the best way to get feedback. But of course, like I said, if you use any of the services, we can do our best to help you out, whether that be PMS, the booking engine, the website. But of course, I think you all understand why we can provide better feedback if we do an overall marketing approach. Okay, so for the session recap, the major takeaways, I would add as much information to your listing as possible, add high quality imagery to the listing, respond to reviews within a timely manner. Like I said, 24 hours for those negative reviews and within 1 week for those other reviews. Keep an eye on trends and utilize that information for your property. So if that means adding additional swimming pool photos or pickleball photos, and again, utilize that information in your other marketing tactics. Consider ad campaigns for your property. Maybe that $500 pay-per-impression ad express campaign just really speaking to you and you want to take advantage of that. And then finally, utilize the rezStream marketing team for an overall approach when you need help with support. I know sometimes the Tripadvisor support team is hard to get in contact with, especially if you don't have any paid listings. So that's just an extra benefit of utilizing one of the rezStream services. So next steps, reach out to sales@rezstream.com to join rezStream marketing. We have a variety of marketing packages, and even if you go with the lowest marketing package, that includes Tripadvisor management, so you don't have to worry about that. Or feel free to optimize your own Tripadvisor listing based on the information I've shared. And if you're a rezStream client and have a specific question, feel free to reach out to us. Thank you all so much for attending. If you have any questions, like I said, feel free to forward these questions to sales@rezStream. We do have about maybe 5 to 7 minutes for questions. I'll leave this slide up so that way you guys can see the contact information. So I know there's a couple questions in the Q&A feature and a couple in the chat. So we'll see as how many I can hit in the next, looks like 6 minutes or something. One of the questions we have is, how much does a business advantage listing cost? Unfortunately, there's not a one-size-fits-all paid approach for that. It depends on the number of units you have, and it also depends on the number of interactions you have. So if you have an organic listing and Tripadvisor sees a ton of people are looking at it, unfortunately, they're going to want their slice of the pie, and your business advantage listing will be more expensive than maybe somebody who doesn't get as many views, just because they know that you need to have a positive ROI to take advantage. So there's that question. I guess to go a little bit deeper, if you have any questions on how much it costs specifically for you, sometimes if you log into the back end of your business or your Tripadvisor listing on the overview tab, there will be a suggested cost, and it'll be like, join Tripadvisor for $1,000 a year or $1,000 a month or something like that. So you can look there, or you can reach out to us and we can look at it, or reach out to Tripadvisor support if you're interested. The next question are there any other trends that we're seeing that I didn't specifically go over? Yes, there's quite a few trends that Tripadvisor specifically highlighted, but for the sake of time, I didn't want to go through every single one. So just a quick overview of other ones that I know Tripadvisor is promoting are astrology. So if you live in like a low light area where you can see a lot of stars, you'd want to promote that. We're seeing a lot more moons. So baby moons and honeymoons have been super popular, but now we're seeing bestie moons and retire moons and pretty much like just any excuse to go on a getaway. So maybe highlight those kinds of stays. I also saw Tripadvisor was promoting like gaming or esports. So if you have like a gaming room or high-speed internet, or people can like rent out video games or something like that, promote that on your listing on your website. We also see people are interested in traveling to areas that are maybe highly concentrated with activities. People aren't interested in driving 20 minutes north and then 20 minutes south to get one activity done, right? They just want a very concentrated area of things that they can do. My brain kind of goes to maybe one of our marketing clients in Wildwood, New Jersey, right next to the pier. The pier has restaurants and fireworks and concerts and an amusement park. You just drive to one spot and you can hit a ton of different things all at once. So promote that. Spa, relaxation, beauty. If you have any spa services at your property, promote that. Or if you have an integration with maybe like a spa nearby where you can get like a discount, promote that. People are interested more in contactless check-in. People are interested in coming in all hours of the night. I know that's kind of a unique thing, especially for small properties that are not always interested in that. But if you are interested in that, I would say at least my best suggestion at this time is take advantage of Akia, which is like an integration we have. You can reach out to sales if you're interested in learning more about Akia. Slow going. If you have anything that's about slow, relaxation, eco travelers. So if you have offerings at your property that really cater to eco-friendliness, maybe this is cleaning the room less often, or maybe larger toiletries instead of those single-use plastic ones. That's always great. And then the last one I saw was attractions for all five senses. So maybe one of those like catered meals where it's like a smell, a hear, a taste, all that. The next question I have two people asking is, how does Tripadvisor show rates? I would say the best way to show rates is through Tripadvisor Trip Connect, where you can show your rates that way, where there's a connection with the rezStream booking engine or whatever booking engine you use. Or if you're on OTAs, you can feed your data that way without Trip Connect. However, I know not all the small properties are on OTAs. But if you don't, I guess we got a question recently when this email went out promoting the webinar. Somebody was like, I'm concerned that I'm going to get double bookings. If you don't pay for Trip Connect, they're not showing your rates. So there's no way you're going to get double bookings. And then if you do pay to show your rates, there is the integration with the booking engine. So again, you shouldn't get any double bookings. So I guess to answer your question, Roger, is that only for a different tier? I wouldn't say a different tier. It's just a different offering. Just completely. Let's see. Mason, your question, what upcoming changes to Tripadvisor's algorithm or listing policies in 2025 should independent properties prepare for now so that we don't get caught off guard later? I, again, don't know how to answer that question. I can reach out to our contact at Tripadvisor and see if he's willing to share any upcoming changes that are coming soon. I know the biggest thing that they just launched was that Ad Express, like I just mentioned. However, I do feel like they like to keep some content under wraps and launch it on you guys at the exact same time they launch it on me. Usually we don't get information before the hotel owners, but I can ask and at least see if they're willing to share any of that information with us. I will say, I do think that Tripadvisor, once their portion of money, but they're not out to get you, they're not out to trick you, they don't want to catch you off guard, kind of like what your comment is maybe suggesting. I do think that they are on our side, but at the end of the day, they want to make their money. Let me see if I can scroll back through. We have about 1 minute. Okay, so Mason, this will probably be the last question I'm able to answer for everybody, but if I didn't answer your question, we'll email you directly, or you can email your questions to sales@rezStream. The question is, given that Tripadvisor's revenue model depends heavily on advertising, how can independent properties trust the ranking algorithms, truly prioritizing guest experience over paid placement? That's a really good question. When you search for a property, chances are you're a little bit able to tell if they're paying to play So if it says special offer, you know they're paying for that. If it says sponsored placement, you know they're paying for that. However, for those rankings, maybe your ranking is number 2 hotel out of 30 in Estes Park, that you can't pay for your ranking. That is truly the organic algorithm based on guest experience. So I would trust maybe that ranking of like number 2 or number 1 hotel in Estes Park, rather than if I type in hotels in Estes Park, what that listing is going to be paid people on top. So I think it's pretty easy to differentiate that. Okay, it is 2 o'clock. I think there was at least like 2 or 3 more questions I didn't get to, so I apologize that we ran out of time. However, like I said, we will get back to you. So I appreciate you all for attending our webinar, and I hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday. Bye, everyone.